Hey guys, what's up? GreenMachineSam back with another video, and today we have another Madden 24 roster update guide. Now, I'm making these just to show you guys exactly how to get the roster and all that fun stuff. So people that are new, or if the videos get pushed to, parts of YouTube that won't get many views, I'm going to push these out so that you guys can see exactly how a lot of this stuff is done and who is being added to the rosters. Now, of course, there are a couple things that we do need to cover. First and foremost, this is a PS5 exclusive roster. Sorry to anybody that is on last gen or on a different console or different just platform in general. I do PS5 because I've always liked PlayStation. I don't have an Xbox, and I'm not doing PC because I would assume the mining community probably does a pretty good job at getting those rosters done if I do say so myself. At least I would assume they get those done pretty easily. They probably have a lot more tools that they can work with just entirely with modding stuff. So let's get things underway as well. Now, there are a couple things to cover. First, you're going to head over to the Creation Center, share and manage files. You do have to download it every single time you want the new version. And I am posting these about once to twice a day normally. So they get updated relatively frequently. If we scroll over to roster real quick, there's going to be a lot of rosters, especially a lot of the college and legend ones that you'll see. But mine's right here, at least one of them anyway. They're both the same. Okay, I'm going to get that out of the way. They're both the same. It does not matter which one you download. So it's Madden 25 roster update and Madden 24 roster update. And as you will see, they're virtually the same. Sometimes the description's different depending on how I want to word stuff or whatever. That may change. And then you do have to download it. So you have to download it, and then it'll bring up this screen if you've downloaded it in the past. Overwrite my file just means that it's just going to save over top of the old name. So it's going to keep the name. It's going to just put the file over top of the old one. It's going to delete the old file, put this one in its place. Save it as a new file means you can save it under a new name, and you can keep the old one just in case for some reason you did want one of the older updates. You can do it that way as well. I think it's a pretty good roster. I get a lot of stuff done. I'm just going to put that out there. I think it's a really good roster in my opinion. You can go to load, and then, of course, once you download it, you do have to go to load and delete and get that done. So go ahead, go to load and delete and load it up. You have to load it up no matter what if you're playing in Play Now or if you are starting a new franchise, of course. You cannot play Now online, but if you do want to play with friends with the new rosters, go ahead, start up a franchise, and then just play each other. If you guys have each other on the schedules, of course, that is something that you will have to do. But you can play in at least online franchises. You will have to use active roster. Do not use NFL roster because it will not work. You have to use active roster. Like I said, you have to load it, and then you have to go into franchise mode and click active roster. So, if you go to quick play, and if you play custom games with Play Now versus just Play Now, you go into Play Now. The roster will automatically be there. So you go into custom games. As you can see, DeAndre Swift, Kevin Byard on the Bears. It'll auto be there. It's not like 2K where you have to download it and then you have to load it in that section of Play Now. It'll just be there, so that is a good thing. And then, of course, franchise, like I said, when you go to start up a new franchise, you have to start one up. You go bang. You have to start up a new one. You have to create a new franchise. Use active roster. You can use it for the offline franchise as well. I'm not saying you can't. You can use it either way. You have to push the use active roster. Yes, you have to be online to download the roster. Yes, you do have to download it each and every single time there is a new update. And yes, you do have to load it every single time you want to create a new franchise or play a game. Or even just look at the roster. So first and foremost, there has been a lot of player movement over the last couple days. Of course, you do have Joe Mixon getting an extension with the Texans. You have Tim Settle signing with the Texans. We'll go back to him real quick. Tim Settle here. The Titans ended up getting Jack Gibbons back, and as well as their wide receiver, Nick Westbrook. And then they got, of course, Jack Gibbons back, so he's back as well. He's going to be matching up with Kenneth Murray there. The Bears signed a couple lower tier guys. They did end up going out and getting Matt Pryor as well as Coleman Shelton. At least Shelton's expected to sign with the Bears. It's just I think they're in agreement on a contract for the most part. He just has to sign at this point. The Chargers ended up going out and getting Poona Ford, so there's that. A couple of the big ones is DJ Reader going to the Lions. The Eagles getting both Devin White, Bam, as well as CGJ back. So those are some pretty big names. The Dolphins bringing in a couple people. Jordan Poyer. They brought in Kendall Fuller, as well as Deshaun Hand, Benito Jones. And then they brought in Jody Fortson from the Kansas City Chiefs as a third-string tight end. The Cowboys brought some of their guys back. C.J. Goodwin, one of the names I remember, as well as Jordan Lewis. So they brought back two of their own guys. And there's been a ton of stuff. Of course, you have to talk about Sam Howell going to the Seahawks. But I do want to talk about a couple things before we get out of here. First and foremost, I cannot update age, contract money, or dev traits. That is something I cannot do. I wish I really did have that ability, especially for dev traits, because there are some guys that I particularly don't agree with. Not necessarily guys that don't have dev traits, but certain guys that still have dev traits. Travis Gibson, who was a former Chicago Bear and now a Tennessee Titan and now a free agent, still has star, and he's like 27, and he's a 73. He hasn't developed. He hasn't proven anything. I don't think he deserves star. There's a couple other guys here and there that still have star, which is insanely weird. Hell, I know for the longest time in Madden 23, who was the offensive tackle? Not Leatherwood, the other one, the one that got drafted by the Titans and then traded off for a 7th and then released and was on Giants practice squad. He still had star at one point, and he kept getting signed in free agency to these massive 5-year deals because he had star dev as a 22-year-old right tackle. So there's a lot of stuff that you guys can go in and see. Of course, you have Russell Wilson and other quarterbacks going to their respective teams. Mason Rudolph, Sam Darnold, Brett Rippon, Mitch Trubisky, Winston, all these different guys. Desmond Ridder is another big name going to the Cardinals. You have the Falcons then getting Rondell Moore. They are going all in. They picked up Ray McLeod. I'll change his number probably shortly as well as Rondell Moore. I'll get those two guys probably better jersey numbers going forward. But of course, those aren't the most needed things right now, too. Especially because they haven't picked out jersey numbers in real life. I don't want to go too ham on that. I do like to fix a lot of the jersey numbers if possible. Kirk Cousins here as well for the Falcons. You got a bunch of different stuff that you guys can go look at. I'm trying my best to keep up with everything. Of course, there's a lot of different news sites and a lot of different stuff is getting reported. So, I have to go and I gotta check this site and I gotta scroll down until I realize I'm at the same place that I was at yesterday. Then I'll get off that website, go to a different one, check all them. So there's not a whole ton of work left to do. I'm still getting future contract reserve contracts done for certain teams, just in case they need anybody. If they don't, I'm not really going to worry about it all that much. I do have to go through and get some people released based off of them signing people and getting those filler players removed from certain teams. I got them removed from the Dolphins and one other team, but there's still work to be done, right? There's still little things that I can definitely fix amongst this roster. But this is one of the better rosters you're going to find out there. I put a lot of time and work into these rosters, not only because I want people to download it, but because I'm going to be playing with it. So I want it to be as correct as possible. Another thing I do want to touch on is contracts. Like I said, I can't change contract money for the most part. I can change overalls to vastly determine years and somewhat of a pay thing, but I can't get money correct. So that is something that you guys will have to fix if you guys do go into franchise mode. This roster is mainly for people just to have everybody on the correct teams, and so you can hop into the franchise, and you only have to fix a couple things if you really, really want to have a fully correct franchise. Now, of course, like I said, there's still issues with the roster. I can't change dev traits, I can't change age, I can't change contract years and money for the most part. If you did not know, contract years are and overall will determine how many years and how much money each player gets when signed. So yeah, like I said, your overall will determine how many years you get. Anything above a 76 gets a 3-year deal. Anybody 74 through 60 gets a 2-year deal, and 59 below gets a 1-year deal. So I do have to kind of adjust ratings accordingly. So if anybody has an incorrect rating, and that is something else I want to touch on, is I don't change ratings in terms of, I think this dude's an 84, not a 79. I don't think this dude's a 72. I think he's a 67. I don't try to do any of that stuff. So if somebody's overall is incorrect according to what Madden last updated it as, let me know. The only overalls that I make are the ones for the drafted players, and I'll have more information regarding the drafts and stuff like that. The only information I'm really going to give out right now, just so you guys are aware, is I'm doing it like last year where I'm going to be making the players during the draft as they happen. I'm going to try to get out at least rounds 1, 2, and 3 out on their particularly nights. And then rounds 4 will probably be on day 3. But then every other round is probably going to be a day after if I can get through every round, right? I only got to 206 picks last year because that is the limit that Madden and EA put on my roster. So I couldn't create any more past pick 206. So there is still a ton of stuff to cover, of course, with this roster. With players being signed at various different times. I'll get off work and there'll be 3 players signed, and I'll wake up in the morning and there'll be 22 players signed. I'll get them updated as fast as I can. Of course, I do have other stuff in my life, but I will get the rosters out as fast as possible. Like I said, I update them about 2 to 3 times a day. Just whenever I'm home, I can, sit down for 20 minutes, get some of the players moved around, and get it shipped back out so you guys can download it if you guys do want to start a new franchise or whatever. Like I said, there's still some work to be done. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like there's nothing to be done. There's still a couple things that I want to get done. Some teams, like I said, still need future reserve players. Some players I have in the correct positions, on the correct teams, with the correct years, all that fun stuff. Jersey numbers are still a couple things that I do need to go over, as well as cutting some players that do not need to be on particularly teams because their contract is up, of course. But remember, there are positional requirements. I can't just go in and cut every single person that does not have an active contract because of the fact that there are positional requirements in Madden, which does suck, but you do have to work around it, and I am working around it. I think it's a good roster. If you guys want to download it, play it, all that fun stuff, it'll be there for you guys. There's still a lot left in free agency, so expect even more moves as the days go on and as the weeks go on. But it's a very good roster. I suggest going and downloading it. If you've probably watched up until this point, you've probably already downloaded it, or you just want to see what's left. Like I said, it's a good roster. It really is. I don't know what else to really say. I was the top rated roster last year for a reason. Please stick around and subscribe if you guys want to see more videos like this. More Titans franchise once free agency has died down a little bit more and stuff like that. And just more videos in general here shortly. I do appreciate the support you guys have been showing both the roster and the videos. And with that being said, guys, I'm out. Peace.